Hi, my name is Sue Day, and I'm the mother of three wonderful kids. Caleb is 15, and Katie and Kelsey are twins, and they're 12. About 2 weeks ago, we were having a normal Saturday. We were about to watch, well, actually, we were watching the Saints game, and my son Caleb had gone to spend the night with a friend. And little did we know that that Saturday would change our lives, and we would get a phone call that I never in a million years thought that we would get.
Hi, I'm Mitzi Miller. 2 weeks ago, my son was hanging out with his friend Caleb, and they decided to go with a third friend to the mall. And about 9:30, John left to go to pick up Trenton from the mall.
Dave got a phone call, and it was Gary Gilbert from the chapel.
30 minutes later or so, the phone rings, and it's John calling me, and he said, I need you to listen to me carefully.
What? Say it again. Say it again. Next thing I knew, he was hopping up off the couch, and he was running back to our bedroom. And I was hearing him say, okay, Baton Rouge General, okay. As soon as he hung up, he said, Caleb and
Trenton
Trent
has been
have
shot.
been shot.
And so I said, what do you mean Trenton's been shot? He said, I'm at the mall, and he and Caleb have been shot, and you need to meet me at the hospital.
It was just all such a shock. It was all it was scary. Honestly, it was scary. And my first thought was just, oh God, let him be okay. Let them be okay.
How could he be shot? How is that possible that my child is shot?
My sweet Kelsey came up to me and hugged me and said, Mom, I'm scared. I'm so scared. And I said, I am too. And Dave he really handles emergency situations so well. And he just said, okay, everybody get your shoes on, get your jacket. We're going. And probably in a minute, we were out the door.
I got in the car, and I decided that everything was going to be okay. There was something that in my mind said, it's going to be okay. It's just going to be okay.
And I was just praying, God, let them be okay. Let them be okay. Oh God, let them be okay. I don't know how many times I said that.
I needed to call someone to talk to get my prayer line going. So I had to call Kendra and tell her that she needed to start praying and need to get my friends to start praying right away because Trenton had been shot, and his friend Caleb.
I made a phone call to my mom, which was probably the worst thing I could have done, but at the time, she's my best friend. She's my prayer warrior. And so I called her and had to share the news with her.
When I pull up to the hospital, the emergency truck is just pulling up, so we just happened to get there at the exact same time.
We went up to the desk, and we said, Caleb Day, and the lady just took her time, and she checked in the computer. I don't see him in here. And Caleb and Dave said, Trent Miller. No, Trent wasn't in the computer. And the man behind the desk said, oh, are you talking about the shooting, the gunshots, the wounds, or gunshot victims? And we said, yes.
John, generally when I overreact a little bit, and my family knows that. So when he saw me, he kind of did one of these, keep it right here. Trenton is taken in, and he's in great pain, and yelling and screaming, and Caleb's in great pain, and there's no sound.
They're getting them stable. Just wait in the waiting room right now, and we'll call you back.
It's just chaos, it's just chaos, and I'm just trying to figure out where I should be or what I should be doing.
And it was just the four of us. It was me and Dave and Katie and Kelsey, and we knelt together in the waiting room, and Dave prayed, and it was a special time, and it was the hardest time ever.
Being the responsible parent, the hard part was for me was knowing that the days were going to walk in, and I had to tell them, you know, I was so sorry.
After we finished praying, they came right out and said Caleb Day, and so we hopped up and started, you know, heading, you know, to the entrance where we could go into the emergency room. And Katie and Kelsey were following us, and Dave had to do another hard thing and say, okay, girls, I think it would be best if you would stay here. Because we didn't know what we were walking into. We had no idea.
Craig Green, who is amazing and wonderful, comes in and comforts us, and what a blessing and what a gift to have a godly doctor.
Right then, Andy and Kendra Ferris walked in the door. I hugged Kendra. Dave told Andy, take care of my girls. It was one of those very awkward walks down the longest hall ever. They were working on him right there. I mean, we were able to walk up and see them working on him, and still checking for, you know, entry and exit wounds. Dave immediately went and put his hand on his forehead, and he just prayed for him right there on the spot. And then he said, now Caleb, do you know who I am? And Caleb looked up and he goes, yeah, Dad. And then they moved a piece of gauze that was right here. And then when they moved the piece of gauze, I saw the entry wound in his chest. And I realized, wow, how close we had come to losing our son. And I remember at that moment just looking at him and then looking down, and tears started, you know, falling. And Caleb looked at me and he said, Mom, it's going to be okay. You know, my son was comforting me. A few days after the boys were released from the hospital, we actually, I guess it was one day after the boys were released from the hospital, we decided to take Caleb back to the mall. And we happened to meet the one of the security guards that was there. And he was there on the scene when it happened. And when we introduced ourselves, he looked at Caleb and he said, hey, do you remember me? Do you remember that I prayed for you? And I looked at him and I thought, wow, wouldn't that be perfect that God would have someone there to pray for him? And he said, yes, and I changed my sermon for the next day. And then I really looked at him and went, really? Are you a pastor? And he said, well, yes, I am, of a small little Baptist church in North Baton Rouge.
A lot of times I don't go to women's conferences because those stories that you hear about so many people having to go through the hard thing, it's the one thing that quite frankly, I don't want to hear your story because I don't want to have to deal with that. And so now I have my story. It's such a sweet place. It's such a sweet place that I get to be that way. So Trenton's doing really well now. He is back at school and not taking painkillers, which is amazing that he's recovered really well. So he's had a very fast healing process, and we're very grateful for that.
We're still working through a lot of pain, and we're still working through a lot of, you know, a lot of things still.
It's not that I want that kind of thing in my life every day, but it's such a sweet place to be in that place with him and to feel him in that way that I've never, ever, ever experienced before, that yes, I would gladly have those moments with him over and over again because it is a good place to be.
It's a testimony of how he showed how much he loved us, how much he was protecting us, our kids, and how much he's got his arms wrapped around us.